Just trying to answer questions with WAPTech. Took 4 seconds for someone to come along and scream at me while playing a guitar. My concern with Fukushima is the nuclear material is in its raw form and it's seeping into the bloodline of the planet, referring to the water. Came from the earth, now it's in the water. This is primarily enriched uranium at a low dosage. It's only got slightly mutated, only a little mutated uranium in it. Enriched uranium has, it's more radioactive. How is this raw form? I'm sorry, but if you're not going to specify what it is, I kind of wonder what you're talking about. So the raw form of uranium is uranium ore. This is purified and concentrated. We're not talking about fallout from an A-bomb. A-bomb fallout is different than this, yes. But people are comparing only information you have about how atom bombs damage people to comparing it to how people are damaged by radiation from nuclear power plants. Anti-radiation people and anti-nuke people very often mix the two together because they know that atom bombs scare people and nuclear plants don't, because you can live downwind from one and not have anything negative happen to you. Next. I know you're talking about Chernobyl. I'm not familiar with that. I've heard it happened in Russia, late 70s, early 80s. Not sure. Anyway, the radiation leaking to the Pacific is not good, my friend. Now, that doesn't mean it's killing everybody the way these people are saying. Editing here. But I think Fukushima may be just as bad. No. It's put off less material. The material that did come off is in the ocean, has been diluted. Basically, it's been washed into the system and spread out much thinner. Concentration of dose is very low. This is the equivalent to an atom bomb going off over Russia and us getting some fallout weeks later and then never getting it again. This spread out in the ocean and we can maybe get exposed to a little of it. And again, atom bombs put off a lot of the same things. And again, most of the fearmongering is based on mixing the two together on purpose to scare people, aka lying to them as propaganda. I believe it's an ongoing situation because once those things start melting down into the ground, there's nothing that can be done about it. That's the downside of nuclear power and why we should get away from it. I agree with you partially, but you can actually fix a China syndrome style meltdown. This is actually doable. Case in point is the elephant's foot in Chernobyl. It is actually not sinking to China or going to the core of the planet. That's a worst case scenario that only happens if you get, I think, a lot more radioactive material melting. It will self-sustain itself into something very similar to a drill bit and keep going. But it can be cleaned up. It's just a real raving pain in the rump. After you remove uranium rods from a nuclear power plant, after it's been in the cooling pond for a while, and you're going to go ahead and decommission it, it still takes months or years for it to cool down to a temperature that you can handle it. And that's just heat, not even radiation. The radiation can still keep sustaining. It also takes a long time for it to build up to this level. This is something that virtually no one recognizes about nuclear power plants. They don't go on and off like a light switch. Next. Maybe it's not worse than Cher. Maybe it's not worse than Chernobyl, because honestly I have not researched it too much. That was the point of my video. Everybody who wants to fearmonger will say Chernobyl's worse than such and such if they're talking about Chernobyl. Then if something else comes up, they say, oh, it's much worse than Chernobyl. They all lie about it, and that's my problem with this, is that I'm not in favor of nuclear power at all until people make it where you can't override safety features like what happened at Chernobyl, or you can't have a problem happening when you're on, I'm sorry, I'm on the Pacific coast here. I'm on the Ring of Fire. Any nuclear plant here has to be designed better than the ones that were at Fukushima. And that's actually my problem with it. But you have to research it. And yeah, it's like 6-7 times worse at Chernobyl. The effect and also the amount removed that was released. They're not really comparable in the way that a lot of people think. But they are both nuclear power plants. And the reason I compare it to atom bombs is atom bombs are deliberately designed to kill large masses of people, destroy a lot of land, and release a fart ton of energy. And it literally turns 1 gram of weight, the weight of one paperclip, Operation Paperclip, into an explosion that's the equivalent to 5 kilotons or 15 kilotons of explosives. Next. I haven't heard anything about Fukushima too recently. Last I heard it was still a problem. Yes, they still have to decommission it. They have to keep taking it apart. They have to do it very carefully to reduce the amount of damage. I'm an extreme person. I would just simply start dismantling it. It's going to damage the environment anyway. I would be about completely isolating it and literally making it impossible for it to do anything wrong. And the thing is, I've looked it up, it's almost impossible to do what I would do, which would be to do it as fast as possible. It simply cannot be done quickly. Even taking apart a nuclear plant that has had no accident takes a long time. They do things such as literally skinning all the cement on the inside to get rid of the radioactive material so that they can take it apart without having to wear respirators, and even then they still wear them. Whatever the case, it was pretty bad situation, and it's going to be the end of mankind, probably not. But that really was a worst case scenario for an earthquake event, or was that? The worst case for an earthquake event actually is a tsunami only, and you may have noticed why. The main damage to that building was from the tsunami. They should have designed it. If you put something near a water source, you have to make it physically impossible for it to get damaged by flooding. That's a rule we follow on coastlines. You always have storm surges. You always assume that. This is literally right next to the ocean. It's not stupidity on their part, but I think they just got a little too comfortable. That's an opinion. But the whole point of the video, and every other video I've made, is stop lying about a situation and you can solve it. But activists always lie, and you shouldn't listen to activists because they don't care about the truth. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And this is about average for most people. This is a normal, rational person posting this. There's nothing wrong with this person's post. This is acceptable, and not only that, this is all of us. Good day.